Joining us now is former White House press secretary and co-host of Outnumbered, Kayleigh McEnany. All right, Kayleigh, you've been in more press rooms than I will ever be in. The president just had a press conference twice. He said Americans want to be safe. No reporter asked him a follow-up. I didn't hear a single question about crime. So, I mean, is the media that disconnected from, it's the #2 polling issue. Are they that disconnected from it?
Yes, they are. And I'll tell you why, Trey. You know, I regularly in the briefing room proactively brought up crime. Crime began to rise on the last year of the Trump administration. It correlated with the defund the police movement. I believe there was a causal effect there. And we brought up crime. We brought up the issue to reporters. I regularly named the names of children who lost their lives in the streets, like Sequoia Turner, police officers like David Dorn. And the press would just simply not ask the question. Not only that, John Carl wrote some op-ed that said one of the most troubling parts of my briefings was when I called out reporters for not bringing up the issue of crime. He said, you know, the administration had not put forward a policy on crime and therefore no reporter would ask about it. Well, about a week after he wrote that op-ed, we put forward Operation Legend, to which I got precisely 0 questions in the briefing room. They ignored the issue because, unfortunately, it just doesn't fit the ideological agenda of the White House press corps. And I think that's sad because it ignores the American people and the plight that they face.
You mentioned Operation Legend. There is a role for the Department of Justice. Most crime is state and local. That's a given. But there are plenty of federal firearms and other offenses the federal government could get involved with. Let me ask you this question. Politicians on both sides are reluctant to criticize their bases, and I get that. But you got some progressive prosecutors and you got some members of the House that are saying absolutely insane things like close federal prison. Biden and the Democrats are going to get swamped in November if they don't find a way to speak out against that, aren't they?
Absolutely. It's the #2 issue to registered voters in the Fox News poll. So they will get swamped if they don't fix it. And they can at least play a part. You're exactly right, Trey. As we all know, these states hold the police power. These DAs are the biggest part of the problem. But you have a president who can call out the DAs, who was in New York City, who could call out DA Bragg, who, as Harold suggested, could surge federal resources, FBI personnel to these states, as Operation Legend did, ending in the arrest of nearly 500 criminals who had committed homicide. So there are things the federal government can do. But yes, you know, it's the states. It's up to them. And you have a president who can call out the states because, after all, these DAs are members of his own party.
Right. Well, he may not can control the DA in Los Angeles or the DA in New York, but he can darn sure control Merrick Garland. And I don't hear a lot coming out of the department. I mean, I heard them get really tough on parents in Virginia. Really, really tough. I have not heard Merrick Garland. Maybe I'm not watching the right shows, but I hadn't heard a whole lot from him about the rise in violent crime. Have I missed that?
No, you haven't missed that, Trey, because it hasn't happened. But what he did upon coming into office, you had A.G. Garland, who came forward, and what did he do? He dropped half of the cases against the Portland rioters, those rioters who were throwing literally fireworks into a courthouse where federal officers were. He dropped half of the cases. You had a president who rolled back the executive order that President Trump put in place about anarchist jurisdictions, that we will deprive you of federal funding if you don't enforce the laws on the books. So there are things that this administration has done to make the problem worse, and you're exactly right to put the onus there on A.G. Garland.
Kayleigh, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow on Outnumbered, I hope. Have a good evening.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.